Good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Yuping, and this is Kay, Davis, and Melly. Today we'll be playing the first movement of Debussy's string quartet in G minor. Claude Debussy was a French composer and born in 1862. And he works for us seminal force in the music of 20th century, and he developed a highly original system of harmony and musical structure that expressed in many respects the ideals to which the impressionist and symbolist writers and painters of his time aspired.
Embracing scales and tonal structure, Claude Debussy was one of the highly regarded composers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Although born into a lower-class family, his passion for the piano ultimately led him to studying at the Paris Conservatory of Music. After many attempts, he finally won the Prix de Rome prize and went on to study many works of German composers. However, after studying these works, he ultimately decided to go the opposite route in a rather French way. Later on, he composed many orchestral, chamber, and solo repertoire, became a music critic, and even intentionally performed his own pieces. In 1918, he passed away in France at just 55 years old.
So over the last week, we've been working on this quartet, and we discovered just how different playing in a string quartet is than playing in other chamber groups. Namely, groups with piano are much different. You might remember I was in the block piano quintet last week, and in that piece, it was very much a piano versus strings dynamic. The strings would provide melody and articulation. The piano would provide volume and a lot of texture. Unfortunately, we do not have a piano on stage with us, so we have to assume a lot of those roles. We learned very early on that the textural elements of this piece are some of the most important. You can hear these in the kind of watery triplets that pervade the piece. Everybody gets them at some point, but usually they're in the second violin or the viola. We also discovered that these two instruments really needed to take a lot of agency in the playing, because even though they're textural, they are not in any way followers. They have to be the leaders of the group because they deliver the pulse of the piece.
This piece was written in 1894, shortly after Debussy returned to France from studying abroad in Italy. He really wanted to branch out and write something new and different, and as he said himself, I quote, "I love music passionately, and because I love it, I try to free it from the barren traditions that stifle it." As mentioned by R. Larry Todd in the encounter the other day, if you went, Debussy wanted to write something uniquely French rather than following a German style. So he modeled this quartet structure after the Franck quartet. This string quartet is one of my favorites, so I hope we can make you all fall in love with it as well. Thank you.